So last night, Cerydra's version 1 kit dropped, and now I can analyze it. Just keep in mind, this is a beta kit, especially version 1, so because the beta cycle can last several more weeks, just be ready for her kit to undergo some changes and just take this information with a grain of salt. But this should be a general backbone of how this character will operate, so let's just take a look at who she will benefit most and who's kind of mid with her. So to quickly explain how Cerydra's kit works, Cerydra is a wind harmony unit that specializes in buffing skills. How her buff works is she needs 6 stacks to do her big buff, and her big buff provides a crit damage boost for skill damage, and a clone, it basically clones the DPS's skill and instantly uses it. So for example, if you have Phainon and he uses his meteor, she will clone the meteor and Phainon will release another meteor right after he used his first one. So in order to get these 6 stacks, there are a few ways to build up these stacks. First, she can skill, which gives her 1 stack as well as a speed boost to herself and the DPS. Cerydra's ultimate ability will generate 2 stacks for her, and a DPS skill or basic attack will generate 1 stack for Cerydra as well. And Cerydra's talent gives an attack buff, so that's basically her kit. So yeah, let's just take a look at some DPSs who can use Cerydra and talk about their effectiveness. First, we have the main winners. The main winners of Cerydra's kit right now is looking to be Phainon and Anaxa. Phainon should be obvious. This character was basically the entire inspiration for Cerydra's kit, so it makes perfect sense for Cerydra to work really well with him. So Phainon can use her entire kit to its full potential, taking advantage of that attack buff, speed buff, and skill damage buff, which is really nice. He also has good control over his skills, so you don't really waste Cerydra's buffs when you play. And just launching his meteor back to back is crazy. Like, I know you've seen those showcases where those meteors are hitting a million plus damage. Just imagine just launching those back to back. You're gonna be doing crazy damage, at least right now. And secondly, we have Anaxa, who can also utilize her entire kit as he's attack scaling and skill damaging unit. It is just insane. Just watch an Anaxa showcase with this character, and he will be launching 4 skills at once, which is really, really good. So I think Phainon and Anaxa are the 2 main winners for Cerydra's release, and I don't think anyone else can benefit as much as they do. So looking at some units that are kind of coping with Cerydra, first is My Day and Jingliu. The main reason is these 2 units are both HP scalers, so they can't take advantage of Cerydra's attack buff on her talent. My Day also really wants Sunday for the energy to proc ult and build stacks for his big follow-up attack. As for Jingliu, she already gains an absurd amount of crit damage in her kit, so Cerydra isn't too helpful. Like, she already gets, like, you'll have like around 400 something percent if you build your Jingliu, right? And Cerydra adding another crit damage buff for skill damage is kinda has a lot of diminishing returns to it. I mean, there is a positive with Jingliu is that when you clone Jingliu's skill, her clone skill will not drain a syzygy stack, so you might be able to proc that A6 passive a lot more often, but I don't know if that buff can overcome what we already have with the current Harmony units like Tribi or Sunday, because you would have to replace one of them to make room for Cerydra, which I don't really think is too feasible for Jingliu right now. As for another 2 characters, Zila and Dr. Ratio, Dr. Ratio's main damage source is his follow-up attacks, and Cerydra is a skill buffer, so his follow-up attacks are not buffed by Cerydra. As well as, like, his follow-up attacks can't help Cerydra in any way or build stacks for her, so he is lacking a lot when it comes to the synergy with her. The good news is, similarly to Jingliu, how she can use her enhanced skill twice. Ratio can proc another follow-up attack, I believe. So because if he has an enemy marked like with the 100% mark above their head, if he uses his skill and he launches a chalk, and if Cerydra clones that skill, he could be able to launch another chalk. And Zila, She just wants to do damage with her full kit, especially her ultimate, and Cerydra not proccing her ult at all makes her lose out a bit of damage compared to another support. So she really just wants to like one-shot enemies with all of her kit to proc Resurgence as many times as possible. So Cerydra, I get the synergy. It could help her one-shot enemies with Zealous skill, but her ultimate also does a lot of damage, and you will have a better time using a different support who can buff Zealous full kit. As you can see, this trend kind of continues for a lot of other DPSs. For example, Thurda is a very prominent skill damage dealer, which, you know, she does a big skill nuke. But the thing with this is Cerydra's buffs will reset Thurda's interpretation stacks, so Thurda will do less damage in her consecutive skills. And speaking of Thurda, her teammates are really, really good, with Tribi and Anaxa being her two teammates aside from the sustain. So with Tribi, she is an AoE buffer and can buff Herta's second erudition, which is really nice, which you know Cerydra cannot do. As for Anaxa, he is just too good as a sub DPS, really carrying Thurda's team in single target scenarios, as well as applying 7 weaknesses, which is just super useful for Thurda to brute force any content. And moving on to the next set of 2 characters are the Fate units. These Fate units do a lot of damage with their Noble Phantasms, which are ultimates, so Cerydra cannot buff them. And Saber specifically, she wants a lot of energy to be launching Excalibur as much as possible. So similar to My Day, she probably does prefer Sunday to be her primary Harmony unit, advancing her action to allow her to be using more skills and, you know, getting more energy with his ultimate to launch her ultimate. And as for Archer, Archer is super skill point hungry without E1, so you can't really replace Sparkle, Cypher, or Silverwolf comfortably, who all I believe are skill point positive, especially Sparkle generating those 4 skill points for Archer allows him to launch 2 more skills in rapid succession. And Cypher and Silverwolf, just really good Nihility characters all around. I don't really think there's a world where Cerydra can replace those 2 characters with her V1 kit. So the final words, if you own Phainon or Anaxa, she will be a good upgrade for them. However, I do think for everyone else, her buffs are very strict for a character of the Harmony class. And since she buffs skills in general, I wish she had a lot more generalized buffs that are not completely tailored to these 2 units. Her buffs honestly cannot compete at E0S1 compared to other meta supports such as Tribi, Sunday, and Robin for most teams because of how tailor-made she seems to be for Phainon in particular. But remember, this is only V1 of her buffs, so just take it with a grain of salt. And honestly, if you are looking to rolling for the other 2 harmonies in version 3.4, which are Tribi and Sunday, I would definitely go for them as they are both a very safe pull and you'll definitely find a use for them on your account. Remember, characters in beta are big what ifs. They could be really bad in V1 and then turn out to be insanely broken by V5, but we don't know that. So I can't tell you to roll for any beta character, so if you don't own a Tribi or you don't own a Sunday, just stick with them as we already know what value they're giving. But hopefully Cerydra does get some tweaks in her beta cycle as I think she's a pretty underwhelming Harmony unit right now. But yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted to see if there's any changes with their kits. So good luck on your pulls in 3.4 and let's see what happens.